What if I told you that for nearly a century, the British royal family has been hiding a dark secret that goes to the very heart of the monarchy? What if some members of the royal bloodline have been deliberately erased from history, locked away from public view, and declared legally dead while still breathing? Today, we're diving deep into one of the most shocking cover-ups in royal history, the story of the siblings who were never meant to exist. The Lost Prince, a royal son erased from history. Our story begins in 1905 with Prince John Charles Francis, born at York Cottage on July 12, 1905. He was the youngest son of King George V and Queen Mary, making him the uncle of Queen Elizabeth II. Johnny was often seen out and about with his family as he grew up and appeared in family portraits. But behind palace doors, those who cared for him noted that his behavior was starting to differ from that of his siblings. He was bolder than them, and his father once told Theodore Roosevelt that all his children were obedient except John. By his fourth birthday, his physical health began to give cause for concern as he suffered his first epileptic fit. He was described as being painfully slow, exhibiting symptoms that would now have been used to suggest autism. He remained an integral part of the royal family as his father ascended the throne as King George V in 1910, appearing in photos and portraits as a new era got underway. However, in 1911, the young prince didn't even attend his parents' coronation. His brother George had started at St. Peter's Court Prep School in Broadstairs in 1912, and it was reported that Prince John would not be joining him the following academic year. After this, Prince John was hardly seen in public again, and with the outbreak of war in 1914, his already limited time spent with his family became even more rare. In 1916, as his condition deteriorated, he was sent to live at Sandringham House and kept away from the public eye. In the years leading up to his death, his seizures grew more frequent and severe, and he was moved to Wood Farm on the Sandringham estate with Nanny Lala. He was unable to spend much time with his brothers and sister as his seizures were becoming more frequent and caused great distress to his parents and siblings. John died in his sleep at Wood Farm in January 1919 when he was just 13. Queen Mary wrote in her diary that his death came as a great relief. For him, it is a great relief, as his malady was becoming worse as he grew older, and he has thus been spared much suffering. I cannot say how grateful we feel to God for having taken him in such a peaceful way. He just slept quietly into his heavenly home. No pain, no struggle, just peace for the poor little troubled spirit which had been a great anxiety to us for many years, ever since he was 4 years old. She also later wrote in her diary that she missed the child very much indeed. After his death, John was rarely talked about by the royal family, and decades later, his seclusion at Wood Farm was taken by some as evidence that the Windsors tried to hide him away to avoid embarrassment. He was left out of a later family tree, while his image wasn't included in a program produced to mark George and Mary's Silver Jubilee in 1935. But while letters emerged in which John's eldest brother described him as an animal, other correspondence shows the horror his own relatives felt at those cruel words. Those who knew Mary and George spoke of their devotion to their youngest son, whose loss left a huge hole in their family. The hidden cousins, a scandal that rocked the monarchy. Our story continues with another troubling case from the royal family. In 1987, the Sun newspaper revealed a shocking discovery about two of Queen Elizabeth II's first cousins, Nerissa and Catherine Bowes-Lyon. Born in 1919 and 1926 respectively, Nerissa and Catherine Bowes-Lyon were the daughters of John Herbert Bowes-Lyon and his wife Fenella. John was the brother of the Queen Mother. Therefore, Nerissa and Catherine were first cousins of Queen Elizabeth. On paper, they were born into a prestigious aristocratic family. Given this background, one might have expected that the two girls would have grown up in the refined world of Britain's upper class, mingling with royalty and attending high society events. Instead, their lives took a very different course. Both sisters were born with severe developmental disabilities and never learned to talk. By 1941, when Nerissa was 22 and Catherine was 15, the decision was made to place them in the Royal Earlswood Hospital, an institution in Redhill, Surrey, which catered to people with learning disabilities. The moment the hospital doors closed behind them, Nerissa and Catherine vanished from public life. The sisters remained in the institution for decades, with little to no contact from their high-profile family. Their plight went unnoticed by the world, in large part because of what appeared to be an intentional cover-up. The false death records and the cover-up. In the 1963 edition of Burke's Peerage, a reference book about the British aristocracy, listed Nerissa and Catherine as having died in 1940 and 1961. But nearly a quarter-century later, in 1987, a journalist for The Sun discovered a disturbing truth. It was revealed that Nerissa had actually died just 1 year earlier in 1986, and Catherine was still alive. Not only were the sisters institutionalized, hidden from the public for decades, but they were also wrongly declared dead. This sent shockwaves through the UK and led to a harsh backlash against the Bowes-Lyon family and allegations of a royal cover-up. The public wanted to know how and why the women were recorded as deceased and why their family members had seemingly abandoned them. Members of the Bowes-Lyon family were quick to dispute any claims of a deliberate cover-up. In 1987, Lord Clinton, a cousin, publicly defended the family, suggesting that the incorrect information in Burke's Peerage was a simple mistake. He claimed that their mother, Fenella, was a vague person who had filled out the form incorrectly. However, given that Burke's included specific years of death, many found this explanation unconvincing. Most people believed that the royal family had deliberately concealed them due to the stigma surrounding disabilities at the time. The idea of a close relative of the Queen being institutionalized in an asylum was something that the monarchy, keen to project an image of perfection, may have found embarrassing. A Forgotten Existence. A 2011 Channel 4 documentary, The Queen's Hidden Cousins, delved deeper into the case. Nurses who had cared for the sisters at Earlswood stated that they had never received visits from any members of the royal or Bowes-Lyon families. There were no birthday cards, no Christmas presents, nothing to acknowledge that these women had powerful and influential relatives. However, some members of the family later refuted this version of events. It was reported that their mother, Fenella, visited her daughters regularly until her own death in 1966. Lady Elizabeth Shakerley, their niece, claimed that they were not abandoned and that gifts were sent at Christmas and on their birthdays. She also stated that when the Queen Mother discovered her nieces were still alive in 1982, she made arrangements for them to receive money for treats like toys and sweets. Regardless of these claims, the overwhelming impression left by the Queen's hidden cousins was one of neglect. When Nerissa Bowes-Lyon died at Earlswood at age 66 in 1986, just 1 year before The Sun story came out, no one from her family attended her funeral. She was laid to rest at Redhill Cemetery and given a meager grave consisting of a plastic marker with her surname and a serial number. Though Catherine was still alive when the news about the sisters broke, much of her life was reportedly lonely, even after her fate was revealed. An administrator at the mental hospital where Catherine lived described her as an elderly, frail old lady, one who finds it very difficult, perhaps, to understand this sort of thing and what's going on in the world around her. She's really little more than a child, according to Vanity Fair. So here are the questions we need to be asking. If the royal family was willing to abandon their own relatives with disabilities, what else have they covered up? How many other inconvenient family members have been hidden away? And most importantly, if they can do this to their own blood relatives, what does that tell us about how they really view the people they're supposed to serve? What other secrets are still buried in royal archives? What other siblings, cousins, or relatives have been erased from history? The rabbit hole goes deeper than we ever imagined, and the truth about the monarchy's treatment of their own family members raises serious questions about the institution we're supposed to revere. Like and subscribe if you want to see more shocking royal family secrets exposed. The evidence is out there. We just need to keep digging.